Welcome back to the podcast. This is Matt. If you've been watching any of the podcasts, we've had a lot of fun just talking to a lot of business owners, especially in the staffing industry. I actually have Greg here as as somebody to jump on the podcast to go through some of the similar topics about AI and also staffing. I love the business model, by the way. Biz athletes. I would say I'm a
Appreciate
business
that.
athlete myself too, as well. So I think it's gonna be great.
Athletes are great candidates and performers, let me tell you. You know
Amen.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself, kind of go over your business model a little bit better, and then we'll jump into some of the questions.
Sure. My name is Greg Letow. I'm the CEO at Search Biz Athletes. And our staffing firm, we focus on recruiting game changers, the top 1% of talent, individuals, professionals that are going to be able to come in and make impact immediately. So we're focused on top performers like that. And we recruit for all different types of roles: sales and revenue roles, leadership roles, marketing, customer success roles, tech roles, all essential GTM type of positions to help a business scale. And that's our main focus, right? Is we want to be able to come in, partner with these companies and help them grow as much as possible.
Yeah, and you look like you're an athlete yourself. What sports did you play?
I played several different sports, not for the school. Unfortunately, I wasn't good enough. I was quick enough, but
Yeah.
wasn't overall good enough. But my main sport that I still play today is basketball. So I could
Nice.
do a little mid range, and on defense, I'll shut you down. I can tell you that.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, cool. Starting with just overview of like the industry itself, right? We've seen a lot of major shifts in the last year, 2 years, and in staffing. Administration changes, but just overall, just changes in the way the business is being run. Have you seen any major shifts in the last 12 to 18 months that are notable for your company?
Yeah, I'm seeing overall in the industry some major shifts is companies, they want talent faster than ever.
Yeah.
So, that's one thing I'm seeing. And another thing is, top candidates, I think they have a lot more options these days. They have more selections.
Yeah.
And AI, right, and some software tools are some other big major shifts as well. You're seeing more companies and staffing firms, right,
Yeah.
start to use that stuff and obviously invest in it. And at the end of the day, right, I think clients are more interested in quality over quantity, where before they might be more interested in having a bunch of resumes just come through. Now they
Right.
kind of rather, hey, I'd rather see fewer resumes but way more talent that we want.
Yeah. Absolutely. What do you think that is? I think about 5 years ago, I started 7 years ago, but let's say 6.5 years ago, it was like quantity, right? They would say, "Hey, come in, we'll
Yeah,
train them,
they
we'll
wanted to
give them
slam
that."
with a shit ton of resumes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So now they can kind of pick and choose, right? So they're like higher
Yeah, I
quality.
think I
We
think
want
they realize, like, look, that's not what's really gonna help you achieve what you want to achieve.
long term.
So
Yeah,
I think that's what they companies are starting to realize is why are a bunch of resumes aren't really gonna hit the spot. So look, my company's always been quality over quantity anyway.
yeah.
We don't need to slam you with a bunch of BS type resumes. We rather slam you with 5 stars and go
Right.
and pick and choose, right? So.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And you're in sales and kind of BD and overall like leadership. So I would imagine that being a little bit tougher to finding the highest quality people. It's kind of the intangibles you're looking for versus like hard skills sometimes.
Yeah, I think overall a lot of staffing firms may struggle with sales roles, finding top performers. My whole background is sales. I understand it very well, and that's one of our big strengths is recruiting top performer sales roles. So
Yeah.
from SDRs all the way to enterprise AEs, right? So it's something that we do all the time at a very high level. So yeah, I think it's super essential to be able to, attract and recruit
Yeah.
and deliver, those types of candidates.
Absolutely. Where do you see, especially on the back end, where do you see some pain points when it comes to like processes or even where we're losing efficiencies as a staffing firm or what does it look like for your company? What have you seen at least in the last few years?
I think I'd have to say where clients sometimes will take too much time to
Mm,
respond. When you're recruiting top performers and delivering them to the client, right? We got to move fast. I always say time kills all deals, right? And
yeah.
and I get shit done and we move quick. And I think
Mhm.
sometimes clients they're like they're kind of surprised by that. Like, good God, we signed the contract, earlier today, and at the end of the day, you're
Gotta
already
cut.
sending me a freaking star.
Yeah,
And they're a little bit shocked by it. And then 2 days go by, and then the third day, like, yeah, let's go set up an interview. And it's
and the
like,
guy's gone.
yeah,
Yeah,
this guy just entered another interview process,
yeah,
right? So I think that's one process. Where clients can take a little bit of time. I think they just have to understand, especially working with a firm like mine, where we're actually going to deliver top performers. We got to move quick.
yeah,
You really got to treat these like deals, right? If a company has a potential business deal, are they gonna fucking wait three days to respond, 2 days to respond? No. So why are
right.
you doing it with a top candidate you're trying to sign?
Yeah. Do you think it's expectations up I'm sure you're laying the right expectations up front, but do you think it's, like,
Yeah,
internal expectations on their side? Or do you think it's just because of just, like, overall mindset that they have
I
toward
think they're one not used to it. I just think they're not used to it. I think they probably weren't even ready for it. I mean, I tell them
Yeah,
like, look, we'll get you a top performer, in days, and sometimes we do it the same day. I got
yeah,
a big freaking network. I can make freaking calls to my top performers right now and pitch them your role, and if they're in, boom, I'm gonna send them. Right.
yeah,
So I think they're a little just like, wow, I didn't believe you that you were actually going to send me a guy later in the day after signing the contract. So I think that's one thing, and I think the other thing is just scheduling, right? Because
yeah,
if they're interviewing with a sales leader at the company and he's booked, right, then that could be another reason why they just have to, oh, look, he's in meetings, right? I have to go through his schedule, see what works. But like I said, you got to treat this like these are some big deals. You got to move some stuff on the calendar, or at least, right, respond and say, hey, we're gonna schedule him for 4 days out. At least do that. But you don't want to leave, 4 days, right, and then go ahead and want to schedule the interview.
yeah, it's sometimes I find it managers, it's kind of their personality, they're like, "Hey, if they really want the opportunity, they'll wait," right? Like, they have the best opportunity,
Yeah,
but
yeah, I've
it's
heard
not
that
true,
before too.
right?
Right? Yeah. Yeah. They just don't really understand it, right, on the recruiting side. They understand their business, right, selling the technology, whatever it is, right, but they need to
Yeah,
understand too from the recruiting top performer side, right, we gotta make moves. So,
yeah, absolutely. Going into sales and pipeline, where do you find that talking about BD and, like, obviously getting clients and doing those things, where do you find it where clients are mainly falling off the most? Like, let's say if it's LinkedIn or a sales call or maybe follow-up or amount of time between meetings, like, where do you see a lot of these leads falling off primarily?
I think just consistent follow-ups. I think follow-up and being consistent about it is key.
Yeah,
Nurturing is critical. So I think when you're doing sales and business development for your staffing firm and you sort of fall off on that follow-up game plan, and nurturing that client and building that relationship, you'll start to see it fall off. So you got to make sure you have a follow-up strategy and have some nurturing skills as well, right? If you see that client on LinkedIn post something, comment,
yeah,
right?
like it, yeah.
Like it,
Share
comment,
it.
endorse
Easy
them,
stuff. Yeah,
right? Just show them, hey, I'm here, right? I'm
yeah,
following you. I'm interested. So that's where you start to see stuff go. I mean, follow up is very important. So you just got to remember that.
yeah. Being intentional with, the relationship is super important. I think
Yeah,
especially when companies are starting to grow, they have to marry the follow-up with the amount of outreach you're doing at the same time. I think that's where they really kind of fall off, right? Your
yeah,
best client today is gonna be your worst client tomorrow, right?
yeah.
So, having the outbound as much as you have in the, implementation of it. Okay, awesome.
100%.
So, recruitment process, what do you think, the bottleneck is for a lot of you're in a little bit of a different boat than most people I'm talking to, but what do you think the bottleneck happens for people not getting the success they want when it comes to recruiting?
Well, I think they have to have a vetting and qualification process. That's going to be one. You have to be very good at knowing the ideal profile, knowing what the client wants, being able to be a great interviewer, so you can understand. Hey, is this going to be the right type of candidate for my client that they're going to be happy about?
Yeah.
It's not always about being a great interviewer, because once you get hired, that shit doesn't even matter. So you
Yep,
got to be able to
yep,
qualify and vet that they're going to be able to perform when the job starts.
Yeah.
So I think that's something. The client feedback delays. We spoke a little bit about that. And then offer negotiation timelines. You get a little bit of that. But those are things that I see
Because the
for.
qualifying stage, you probably should be able to get commitment up front on the qualifying stage as long as you have great expectation from the manager, right? Of what
Yeah.
role does, what's the things, you know.
And I think the other thing is, as far as expectations go with the candidates, that you have to do up front is understand, what's their situation look like as far as, hey, are you interviewing, in three other opportunities? Is this the only one that we're talking about here? Or how many roles, are you also interviewing for? Because you want
Yeah.
to understand that piece, because if they go through the entire interview process and you're, 2.5 weeks down the road, you want to know that they do have other processes they're in, because you may want to tell your client that, because
Yeah.
they might want to speed the interview process up.
Yeah.
Um, I was working with a client, and during the time they were trying to get the right HR person. So we were coming in to do the staffing work, and also, try to help out with the HR work, but they wanted to go, bring in an HR person. And that period was tough because their interview process, they were taking so long,
Yeah.
and we lost out on so many stars because
Yeah.
they're like, this is too fucking long. I mean,
Yeah.
their interview process literally was 5 to 6 weeks. The entire amount, they had about 5, 6 rounds. I've never even. I mean, this was unreal to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, you are losing top people. They're giving me feedback like this is too long. And the other important thing is your freaking competitors are closing them in 3 weeks.
Yep.
In 3 weeks. So the next 3 weeks, you don't even have a chance. They're
Nope.
they're signing them before you're even done with your interview process. So these
Yeah.
companies have to understand, what are my competitors doing, that
Yeah.
they could steal these top performing candidates from me.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to have a very good, efficient, but speedy interview process. That's
Yeah.
what I would say.
Expectation, engagement through the
Yeah.
process, and a speedy, yep. Being able to almost get commitment on the front end on both sides. Hey, this is what you're
Absolutely,
doing to the
absolutely.
process.
And another thing I'll say is this: recruiters have to they have to have some sales skills, in the sense where you have to be able to pitch the opportunity to
Yep.
attract this top. If you're going after top performers, right, you got to have a great pitch. Otherwise, you're going to hang up the fucking phone. Why am I
Yeah.
going to talk to this guy, right? So you also have to have a great pitch on why they should listen to you, stay on the phone with you, consider this opportunity. Why is this opportunity better than their current opportunity? So recruiters also have to have a very good pitch on the company they are recruiting for.
Yeah, absolutely. So what parts of the hiring process do you think are too manual and too out of date today?
You said what parts of the process are,
Too manual or out of date?
what parts of the process are too manual today? I would say with I would say that what's too manual is probably the submissions could be too manual. Sending over the resumes to the client, submitting them, presenting them, managing, scheduling them through the interview
Yeah.
process, right? I think companies got to get some AI to be able to speed all this up, and just make it go much, much quicker. I'll tell you this, right? If you have a recruiting firm, right, a recruiter, and they are submitting, let's say, 3 candidates, okay? I don't know, I know with us, we have to do a submission for each candidate to the client,
Right.
right? What we used to do before AI was we would have to write a whole submission. That could take you freaking 10
30
to
minutes.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, right? If you want to make it good shit, it could take up to 30 minutes. I mean, it
Yeah.
really could. You got to type all this shit in. You got to look at your notes. It's a whole bunch of shit, right? Now, I could throw the resume in, copy, paste my notes, and say, I need you to write me a submission to this client. Here's the job description. Boom, and
Yeah.
automates it just like that. If I needed to change something, I tell it, hey, change this part, boom, boom, boom. Boom. I'll get it done in freaking 2 minutes to 5 minutes. So I
Yeah.
think that's one process that is super outdated. If recruiters are still doing manual submissions, right? That's a thing. And recruiters also have to know how to make sure they can work with the candidate on their resume, because sometimes these candidates, the resume is not their specialty, right? Their
Yeah,
specialty is whatever their line of work is. So what I will see sometimes is candidates, they'll submit the resume over that looks like shit, right, without saying nothing. And then you just lost the whole chance you had on that deal, because now the client's going to say, no, I'm not interested. I don't see this on there. Boom, boom, boom. So the recruiter has to make sure they understand what needs to be on the resume. Because I tell my sales candidates, I'm like, look, make sure we got to have the quote on there, your performance on there, your ranking, right? We got to put all the fluff on there, average size deals, right?
yeah,
Are you running the demos yourself, right? We got to construct this thing here to look right. And I will tell them, look, if you got to use Chat GPT, right, have it, whatever you got to do, but we got to automate the resumes. We got to automate the submissions, right? And automate the scheduling too, because sending out the calendar invites, doing it all, having everybody coordinated, right? It's a lot. So using these AI and software tools can automate these processes very quickly. And I think if recruiters are outdated and manually doing all this stuff, it's taking a lot of time.
yeah. Do you think that inbound approach for candidates or even, let's say onboarding or even background checks, all that stuff, like, do you think all that stuff is a lot of manual effort that could be outsourced or automated?
Background checks, a lot. Usually, companies do outsource for background checks. For references, they could automate that basically
Yeah,
by just putting in the information of here's the person, here's their phone number, here's their email. Go ahead and message them, and schedule a time where we can go ahead and speak,
yeah,
instead of manually, calling them, texting them,
yep.
emailing them, setting something up, sending out the calendar invite, putting all the necessary information right in the calendar invite. So, I think all that stuff is like that.
So even with marketing, even ATS systems and those things, what are your thoughts just from like an automation standpoint, like when it comes to marketing, lead gen, or even like ATS systems? Have you seen any of that stuff too as well and how they made an impact?
Yeah, I think you got to have a good, right. You got to be organized. You got to be efficient, right. So you got to have a good, whatever your ATS system is, whatever the CRM, whatever you're using, right. You got to make sure it's efficient at the end of the day. It's not too complex, right. It's doing what you need it to do. Cost effective, right. I mean, you got to make sure that it's hitting all these boxes that you need to hit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. And then overall, talk about technology. Obviously, the AI is like my thing, right? Where do
I
you
know you
see?
love it now. I love it too. I love it
Yeah.
too now, let me tell you.
Where do you see AI making the biggest impact? Where do you see automation really coming in and helping staffing firms? Where do you see the pitfalls too as well? Like some of those things.
Yeah, I'm seeing AI start to make a huge difference, and I know we spoke a little bit about this, but I mean, we're using AI to the point now where we could get like 5 to 10 things done
Yeah.
at the speed of just lightning speed. I mean, I could literally do 5 to 10 tasks so much quicker than ever. I could
Yeah.
get so much more stuff done with AI. I could handle much more of a load at once with AI. And I'm having AI help me with everything. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't think of something I'm not doing,
That's not an AI.
where AI is not a part. I have ChatGPT up every single day, Gemini. And then again, we're also looking at other AI softwares as well that could come in, because I mean, right now it's an AI bubble,
Yeah.
in the
It's crazy.
US, and we're even bringing in a ton of AI clients
Yeah.
that we're working with. So it's huge right now. I think that any staff firms is not using AI, they have to get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of close it out, just so we have a couple more minutes left. Future of staffing, right? What do you think that looks like in the next 3 to 5 years? Like with all the AI that's going through, this year is kind of the year that everybody decided to start really paying attention. I think it's going to take a whole nother leap next year. Like, what are your thoughts, just overall with what it looks like?
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I don't see recruiters being replaced,
Nope. Yeah,
but
I don't either.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I can see recruiters being replaced that are not using AI. So the future is going to be recruiters, AI, boom, coming
Together.
together. Yes,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to merge. Like I think one day in the future, like human, what are they, cyborgs?
Cyborg, yeah.
Yeah, like that's going to be a thing. I think
Yeah.
Elon Musk has already has a company where you put a brain chip in
Yeah.
the mind to make you like freaking so much more intelligent. Like, right. So so you can operate at a whole nother level and do things right. So that's what I'm seeing about the future of recruiting and staffing is that these recruiters and staffing firms are going to have to merge AI into everything that they're doing. Otherwise, they will be replaced.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And this comes with everything: sales, BD, right, branding, marketing, being able to advise on the talent side, sourcing, all that type stuff. I mean, they're going to have
Yeah.
to adopt it and utilize it.
For sure. I think it's gonna be a synonymous relationship, but I also think that it's gonna be a requirement to know AI transformational tools. Just like how
Yeah.
there's requirements to understand CRM systems and those things, now it's gonna
Yeah.
say systems in ChatGPT, systems in, cloud systems and everything else. It's just gonna get bigger and bigger, you know?
100%.
So just as the final comment, like what would you recommend for anybody who's like starting a staffing firm? Your recommendations on what it takes to be successful and just really what it would look like for your first year and maybe some recommendations for them when you first started.
Absolutely. Well, look, if you're looking to build your own staffing firm, start it, build it, scale it, right? You gotta understand two things: business development, right? Bringing in clients and then being able to recruit and fill that business. So you got to focus on two things. Those are the two things just like that. The next thing you have to do is come up with your game plan, right? You have to have a good game plan on how you're going to bring in new clients and how you're going to fill these positions. And then the third thing I'll say is going to be you have to have an incredible work ethic. You got to be able
Mhm.
to get shit done. Fourth thing is you got to build your brand. That's going to
Yeah,
be a big thing. You can't just be a nobody, right? You got to build a brand. That's going to be important, and it's going to be key.
yeah,
So that's what I would say to anybody that's looking to do those things, so they can stand out and also be successful.
awesome, man. Well, Greg, thanks so much for jumping on, man. This was awesome. I had a lot of cool insight. I know it was pretty short, but we'd love to have you back on at some point. But again, thanks for jumping on and sharing some of your insight just on AI and staffing.
Absolutely, Matthew. I appreciate you for having me. It's been incredible. And anytime you want me back, I'm in, man.
Awesome. Sounds good.